A new era for boxing on Channel 5 continues. Nathan Gorman faces Thomas Salick for the IBF International Heavyweight Championship, whilst Josh Kelly makes his return. Watch Britain's best prospects in The Big Fight Live. Friday at 9, exclusive to Channel 5 and My5.
This is Jared for Into Boxing. Delighted to be joined by Callum the One Johnson. First and foremost, Callum, how are we?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad, thank you, mate.
Good, mate.
First of all, let's talk about the fight coming up. Taking on Igor McCalkin in Wembley Arena on July the 2nd. If I'm right, is this the opponent you were meant to face before the pandemic?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we was due to fight for the European title, and then obviously the pandemic struck, and then things never worked out. So yeah, it's a reschedule for that one, I suppose.
So I was training going for that then. I was a big fight with your WWE.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. It's like people ask that, you know, how's training going? And yeah, it's all right. It's like, you know, you've been doing it this long. It's like, it's just always the same kind of, do you know what I mean? You have some bad days, you have some good days, and you just, you know, you go week by week, and it's always all right at the end.
Yeah. Oh, well, as long as it's going well, mate. Like I said, tough fight, of course. Like McCalkin, former European champion, like you said. Obviously, you were meant to fight for that belt. Obviously, now it's your WBO Global Heavyweight title on the line. Just, have you done much? Is there much difference in your camp for this fight than there was for when you started training for him back in March of 2020?
No, not really. It's the same stuff, you know. He's a southpaw, so working on southpaw stuff. And the same thing, you know, you got to be fit, you got to be strong, and you got to be sharp yourself. So it's same kind of stuff, you know, just working on the southpaw stuff as usual.
Just talk about training though. Obviously, you're in the Gallagher gym, the illustrious gym. I was talking to Paul Butler the other day, and he was saying to me, the gym is absolutely thriving at the minute. Obviously, himself and Tasha Jonas just won world titles. All that lot. How important is it to have such a high morale in the gym when everyone's leading up to big fights?
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And it's not even just the fact of having the world champions. It's that, you know, you've got the young prospects coming through as well. You've got the British champions, you've got the world champions, you've got people like myself that's kind of in between the British and world level, if you like, at the minute. So, and we all bounce off each other, and the prospects want to try and keep up with the world champions, and the world champions want to keep up with the new prospects, you know, because obviously they're full of life, they're full of energy. So it's great. It's great in the gym. It's, you know, great morale, great training, and everyone bounces off each other.
Yeah, it's good to hear that, really, like I said. But with your fight coming up, obviously, you were actually due to fight Joe Smith Jr. back in January, if I'm correct, and obviously you had a bout with COVID. Yeah. Could you just talk us through the whole process of when that came through? Like, was it quite recent to the fight, or was it like in the middle of your camp? So it would have.
No, it was basically, it was about 4 or 5 days before I was due to fly out, literally. I got my whole family sort of seemed to sort of get riddled with it over Christmas and the New Year period. And I was trying my best to avoid it, as you do, but it's just one of the things. But the thing is, the worst part about it, I know it's not he knows, but it is what it is, isn't it? It's one of them where I kind of half let it go now because it bothered me for quite a while. But like you say, it's one of them I've learnt to let it go and move on.
Exactly. So you were quite, well, as you said, you were about to fly out, so you're very deep into your camp then. So obviously, I'm assuming it would have been a blow, like you said. But has it just been a matter of now just focusing on your craft going forward, you know, and wait for, well, like I said, I'm sure, like we've seen the way you fight, an opportunity won't be far away for yourself, like, you know, with how you've worked your way through the rankings, etc. So is it just to wait for another world title shot now, or is it keep gate crashing the rankings till it's forced?
Well, like you say, I mean, let's be honest, I've got a tough fight in a couple of weeks, you know, so it's every one fight at a time. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to get another shot. You know, I lost a shot through no fault of my own, and you know, I was hoping I was going to get the shot rescheduled, but it never did. And then, like I say, here we are now. So just got to hopefully keep pushing on and hopefully get a shot again. But I'll be honest, I don't think it's going to be against Joe Smith, is it? after Saturday.
I was about to ask you a prediction, but I think you've just given the answer there straight away. Obviously, Joe Smith and Beterbiev this weekend fighting for the 3 belts, the WBC, WBO, and the IBF. I think you were the first defence, if I'm right, of Beterbiev.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong now. I think, are you the only man to put him on the canvas as a professional?
Yeah, I think he had half a slip / knockdown, didn't he? But it was more of a slip. But I'm the only man that's actually put him over properly and troubled him, to be fair.
So obviously looking at Beterbiev now, he's obviously got 100% KO record. I think he's the only world champion to have it. Just how hard does he punch coming from a man who's experienced it himself?
It's weird because obviously he punches very hard, because his record says that, when he hit me, I was over. And like I say, he's the only man that's ever put me over in a boxing ring. So it's like, but when I was actually in there, wasn't feeling it. So I don't know if it's the adrenaline or when I watched back, I mean, when he was hitting me, he was hitting me. Do you know what I mean? I was like, wow. But yeah, actually being in there at the time, I didn't really feel it as such. But if I'm totally honest as well, I think after that first round knockdown, obviously I wasn't looking. I had my head through the ropes. I don't think I was clear-minded from that moment anyway, so I can't really remember too much about the whole fight from that moment.
I was going to say, because obviously you had him over, and I think there was a few interviews after where you were saying, should you have jumped on him, should you not? But like you said, he does it very hard, etc. But like I said, you were training for Joe Smith, so obviously you'd have studied him quite highly. Do you think he possesses anything that could cause a problem for Beterbiev, like you did back in 18?
I mean, he can obviously punch. He can obviously punch, so he's obviously got a puncher's chance. And listen, he's a world champion, and he's a good fighter. I mean, but I just don't see him possessing anything that can trouble Beterbiev because, he can't outbox him. He can't outfight him. Like I say, the only way I think he could do it is by getting lucky and getting one off. But then if he does manage to do that, you can't really call it luck because that's what he's trying to do. So I think the only chance he's got is if he actually caught him. But I don't see it happening, if I'm honest.
Yeah. So obviously then if you look at that, I said that's a 3-belt unification, that fight. So obviously there's another world champion, Dimitri Bivol. He's probably coming off the biggest win of his career, beating Canelo Alvarez. Obviously with him not having an opponent, because obviously they were going to try and get the rematch, but now Alvarez is fighting Golovkin. I know you're not looking past your next fight, but is that sort of in the mind slightly, like knowing that he's looking for an opponent and that could be a shot?
Listen, I would never turn it down because at the end of the day, it's a world title shot. It's an opportunity. And you've got to be in it to win it. But yeah, I mean, he's very good. Bivol's very good. But again, I still favour Beterbiev over that one. I feel like it never surprised me, Bivol beating Canelo, if I'm honest. It seemed like it was a massive surprise to everybody. But there is weight categories for a reason, and you've got someone in Bivol who's very, very good at judging the distance and fighting at his pace, how he wants to fight. He's very good on his feet. And he's a big light heavyweight. He's strong, and he can punch like a light heavyweight. So when Canelo couldn't bully him, he kind of got lost. I mean, Canelo's unbelievable. For me, Canelo's still probably the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. But again, when you come up from welterweight, light middleweight, light heavyweight, it comes to a point where you just that step, the very best big ones will beat the very best small ones. And I think that's the case with Bivol and Canelo. But I don't think Bivol's a better fighter than Canelo. You know what I mean? He's just a bigger man and, he's just too big and too strong.
I think you summed it up perfectly when you said his weight classes for a region. Like I said, it was definitely, in my opinion, a step too far for Canelo. Don't get me wrong, because obviously he has held the world title in that division, but it was against Kovalev, which, with all due respect, he was aging a bit. But like I said, Bivol's got, because he hasn't got an opponent at the minute. Like everyone thought it was going to be the instant rematch. So if, say, but you basically admitted you think Beterbiev was going to win this weekend. If you had a clash between Bivol and Beterbiev, who would you say would be the better of the two?
I'd put my money on Beterbiev. People forget as well his boxing ability. I mean, he's a 2-time world amateur champion. A very, very good boxer as well as his brute strength and power. You look at the London Olympics against Usyk. He had Usyk all over. He had him all over in them later rounds. I know it's only a 3-round fight, but there was nothing in that fight. He dropped Usyk with a body shot in the 3rd round, I think it was. And like you say, he is. I mean, I'm going to be biased. I'm going to want Beterbiev to win enough to make it look better for me. But I do genuinely think he's the best light heavyweight out there. I remember when he was fighting Vojdik for the WBC title, and loads of people had Vojdik as the favourite, and I couldn't get my head around that. I was like scratching my head, thinking, what are they seeing that I'm not? Do you know what I mean? And I was telling everybody, "No, I think he'll stop him. I think he'll just go through him," and he did. I think he's a very, very underrated boxer, as well as obviously our brute strength and power he's got as well.
So you're saying that? Do you find that whenever you see the pound for pound rankings come out, if I'm honest, I can't remember seeing Beterbiev in them quite often. Do you think he's a sleeping giant in the whole of world of boxing?
Yeah, I think so, because as you said, he's the only world champion with 100% KO ratio. And like you say, he's got two of the belts. He's probably going to have 3 of the belts after the weekend. Yeah, I think so. But it's people's opinions, isn't it? Everyone's got different opinions.
Exactly. Yeah, like I said, it's a division that's booming, the light heavyweight division. Like, so obviously, if you switch to have a look at the domestic division, like you've got Boatsu, you've got Yarde, Lyndon Arthur still about. Would any of them fights be an interest to you, or like because they haven't got the belt? Would you rather just start looking?
Yeah, no, definitely. The Anthony Yarde fight interests me more than any of them. I think because one, we're both with the same promotion team. He's a big name himself. And I think stylistically would make for a good fight, and I think it'd be a fight that would sell very, very well. So that fight really interests me more than any of the others, if I'm honest. But yeah, like you say, again, it's at that stage now in my career as well where I ain't got too many left. So I've got a couple of years left, and I've got to try and get the biggest fights and the most money, because at the end of the day, yeah, the world title is still there. That's what I'd like to get a chance at again, but. It might have just shipped past me. Hopefully it's not, but with what happened in January, it's kind of now it's about trying to make some big fights, entertaining fights, and earn a few quid, and hopefully get that world title shot whilst doing it.
Like you said there, like yourself and Yarde are under the same promotional banner. Do you find that that's going to be the reason why that fight could be easier to make than most of the others? Because obviously, like I said, Boatsu and Lyndon Arthur are there, Craig Richards as well. But like you said, you and Yarde are in the same promotional banner, so it could just be a crash course towards both of you.
Yeah, definitely. And I think obviously Yarde's obviously mandatory, or he's number 1 contender for the WBO. So probably he might get the shot at the winner of Saturday. So that puts him out for a few more months. But like you say again, I don't want to look too far ahead, because I've done it a few times in the past, and things don't always work out, do they? You get injured, or you get COVID, or your opponent gets injured, or a show gets pulled, or loads of things can happen. Do you know what I mean? So all I'm really doing is concentrating on July the 2nd, getting a win there, and moving on from there.
Can we expect a stoppage on July the 2nd?
I don't know, mate. I hope so. If I land, they'll go, because I possess knockout power. But it's I just predicting a win, doing everything I can to win.
It's the best way. Well, thank you very much for your time. I'm sure you're busy, obviously, with the camp and the fight coming up so much. So best of luck for the fight as well. And thank you, Callum, for your time and speaking to Into Boxing.
No worries. Thank you.